All right. Usually start by saying a happy Mike Giardi Monday. Sometimes it's a happy victory Mike Giardi Monday, but not in 7 years. Say happy playoff victory Monday. And look, you and I, our paychecks are the same, whether the Patriots win or lose. Our work lives, though, are a little bit different when you get to see playoff football and see playoff football in a way that we all did last night, Patriots 16, Chargers 3, that you look and go, that kind of reminds me of the old days. And now they're going to go into the future in these playoffs where it's still anybody's game. And I think there are more paths for them to win, which we will get into here because we have just too many film notes, frankly, on the Pass Interference podcast, part of the obsessive, omnipresent, omniscient CLNS Media Network. Do you agree with me? Like that was my takeaway, my column yesterday. Like you had probably 1-2 pass forward. It was Drake Maye at the front, everyone else behind him. And now if he wants to ride shotgun, and clearly he did yesterday, they can still move forward.
So I think I was kind of there before this, though. And again, I don't know that I could have foreseen the defense doing what it did yesterday. Although I can say that in this week leading up to it, I felt like the Chargers were playing into your hands in a lot of ways. Like from the talent perspective at wide receiver, your outside guys, I said, are better than their outside guys. I think we saw that. And then because of the injuries, sort of they still wanted to be a bully, but they aren't capable of being a bully without the kind of guys that they had. So I don't know that it changed too much for me. It did open my eyes a little bit to maybe where this defense could be headed. I don't know. Question mark.
Well, let me put it this way. Did you think this defensive performance was possible, even given that the bully who's trying to pick on you is hobbling around like the Black Knight in Monty Python saying it's just a flesh wound, and you're like, I just feel bad for you at the fourth quarter watching Justin Herbert run around.
Yeah, I think I wrote last night, came to a gunfight with an empty holster and a butter knife. That's sort of how I described the Chargers.
Look at you, writer Mike Giardi.
How about that, right? At late at night, too. Giardi after midnight, you don't know what's going to happen.
That is another podcast with a different rating than this one, Giardi after midnight.
Most certainly. I think I foresaw them maybe holding them down some, but again, not to 3 points, not keeping them out of the end zone entirely, and then not, manhandling Justin Herbert in the second half. That poor dude he's probably in a full body cast today from the punishment he took yesterday.
You know what, though? I have to apologize to the haters. The Herbert haters get to say whatever they want for the next year.
Sure.
And I was it's a 2-game sample, and one of them, their defense collapsed. Talk about the Chargers and Herbert falling apart in the playoffs, because that's been the big criticism of one of the best quarterbacks in football. This dude was lost. And there was a lot of that. That was the blitz pressure, where I had the Patriots blitz rate near 50%. This might have been their highest of the season. I didn't go back and look, but it's somewhere in the top 3, 4, 5. And the physical punishment didn't really arrive until the end. Like their pressure rate, I had it 50. Where did you have it?
Yeah.
At 50?
Yeah.
Okay.
48, I think.
So it was high to start, fell down, and then climbed back up. But what was different about the first half was it felt more like the mental anguish of like, I don't know what I'm seeing. Then what I want isn't there, bailing from pockets, and then came the physical punishment. So to do that, the Patriots needed to empty out the whole playbook of pressures that they had, which is basically what they did. You had simulated pressures with 4-man guys. You had traditional 5-man blitzes. You had 6-man zone pressures, 2 short, 3 deep, 3 short, 2 deep, and then 7-man all-out effort pressures. And I think we have to start there because this game hinged on a couple of early moments, right? Like you had some good tackles by Carlton Davis and Craig Woodson on the first drive that saved them. Cool, nice. This is the best tackling defense in the league, bar none. But then the Chargers get the ball back inside the Patriots 10 because of that tipped interception. And you're going, This is how they take control. This is how they get to do the boa constrictor thing and wear you down, as Mike Vrabel said after the game. But what happens there is you get to 4th and goal, and there is one of your all-out epic blitzes, and they stop them from 0 points. And that I think highlights how fragile sometimes these big narratives about the defense can be. It comes down to that one early moment where you do something unexpected, but also says the courage and knowledge of that call to say, we're sending the house. We probably have to send the house because we can't get pressure. And that self-awareness along with the ability to make that call, really from Zach Core kind of carried them for stretches before they could just pummel Justin Herbert like the way that they did.
I think it was interesting to me, and I like how you presented that in terms of psychologically, if you will, mentally. They had him all tied up in knots early on, but how quickly the game can change. On that opening series, flushes himself. He's going to the right. Ladd McConkey gets in the scramble drill. Ladd McConkey is wide freaking open. Now, what have we talked about with Drake Maye all year, right? The ability, even go back to training camp, keeping your eyes up. That was something he was training himself to do. I've got to do a better job of not looking down, not looking to the sidelines, keeping my head up and trying to make a play as a passer. In that moment was clear when Herbert started to flush himself. He was like, I'm going, and I'm not looking. And had he just peeked his eyes up for a second, he had multiple windows in which he could have thrown that ball. And when you're paying a quarterback, whatever he makes, $55 million, that's a play that you expect him to make. And who knows what conversation we're having if Justin Herbert has his head up and sees Ladd McConkey behind the defense running across the field with him. That's probably a touchdown. If not, it's a very big play, and who knows what happens. But instead, you get it. Maye turns the ball over, and then the defense comes up big. Marcus Jones with the tackle on Herbert down by the 2-yard line, where I think he was spying him essentially there. I don't know if you felt the same way. He sort of just didn't even really necessarily drop into his zone. He just kind of stood there. And then Herbert, again, got panicky and bolted out of the pocket. And Marcus took him out at the knees and, set up the 4th down situation. So, man, I'll tell you what, if we were doing the show in Los Angeles, what a conversation we'd be having about the quarterback, coach, offensive coordinator. I'm sure we'll get into some of that here, but they're having some fun with that, or not fun, depending.
Yeah, and look, I want to say this on the front end before people get upset in the way that the schedule conversation tainted parts of our regular season discussion. It's not yours and I's, but people listen to other podcasts, radio, TV, whatever. And it's like, well, the Patriots don't suck because their schedule's easy. I know the Patriots are good because of their tape. The schedule tells me that's probably why they're 14-3 as opposed to 11-6. Justin Herbert can suck like he did for long stretches the last night. And the Patriots still played well defensively. Obviously, there's interplay here, but we can hold those two thoughts separately. I'm glad you brought that up because, again, that talks about kind of the boring pieces of this, of like all of the zone pressures and the different blitzes is cool. And they needed that stuff to get to where they went. 3 points the first time they held any opponent to under 10 this entire season, which, talk about timing, couldn't get any better. But if Marcus Jones doesn't upend a dude who's 10 inches taller, who's probably 70 pounds heavier than him, or somewhere in that range, and stop him at the 2-yard line, you don't get to 4th down and then have the all-out blitz. So, like, it's the boring, solid stuff that sets up the sexy scheme talk. I really do think, though, to get back to the original question, that this opens up more paths because the pressure piece was always the case against the Patriots, and still the case now you could make of, like, what did you expect against the league's worst offensive line? Where I texted you. Did you get that clip, by the way?
Yes.
Right, 4th quarter?
Yeah.
Like, Corey Durden just takes like 2 hands, not even a forearm, to the center. Forgive me, Chargers center. I'm on 3 hours of sleep.
Bradley Bozeman?
Bozeman. Yeah, okay, it was Bozeman. And just kind of swats him in the face. And Bozeman goes down like he had 4 martinis at that point in the game, which honestly, the way the game had gone, maybe he should have. Which is to say that, like, there are parts of this game that are not going to transfer, but it's encouraging to see the scheme piece, knowing that's going to have to offset the pressure stuff where everyone goes, you're not going to be able to carry this pass rush because you can't carry the Chargers offensive line, the worst pass protecting offensive line, with the drunk center into the next round. But they do seem to have some answers here. It's just a matter of the timing. And that also gets to what you and I talked about. Okay, how do you get pressure when you can't do it with just 4? How do you win the big moments? Because obviously they did both of these. Now that I've seen it once, I think they can do it again.
I think they can do it again, too, because I think there was having 14 back in the middle of the defense, Robert Spillane.
Yes.
Made such a world of difference. And I don't say that to demean what the guys did in his place. In fact, Jack Gibbons, in now a part-time role, had a really nice game again last night, too. Christian Ellis continues to play really well, flying around, making plays. He was one of the guys at times spying Justin Herbert in this game. But having him there, and I've said this before, but it bears repeating, at least I think it does, is that you talk to the guys up front and they say he sees it before anybody else does, and he tells us. And so as you're building this trust over the course of the season, when Robert says something on the field as they're breaking the huddle or they're lining up, it's no longer, what's he talking about? It's like, no, he just said, do that, just do that. And it works. And he was a force with the blitzes yesterday. Again, strong against the run. Not that there was much of a run game from the Chargers, but I think the Patriots kind of took that away from him. And just, I think the communication aspect of it, getting guys to time things up right, that was quite the performance.
And guys told us that in the locker room. Like, I think half the people I talked to, and maybe there were 6 or 7 defenders that I asked questions to, they were all like, well, we got a big piece back. And some of them even said 2. Like Milton Williams, this was his second game back.
Yes.
But really the first that you looked at him and go, oh, that's Milton Williams. It's 100%. Not the guy in Miami who's kind of getting loose again, getting his form back. And so, yes, Spillane was a big piece of this. You know, like we talk about receivers, and you just mentioned with Gibbons, you get a dude at the top, a number 1. It resets the depth chart, and everyone is ready for a role that they're really carved out for. Jack Gibbons, 14 snaps, strings out a Justin Herbert designed run in the red zone. Perfect. That's all I want from him. Situationally be good. You don't have to be good start to finish. Christian Ellis, though, one of the players I talked to, he was great start to finish. Is another, like, a lot of this was the rush, which we just talked about, the scheme stuff, and we'll get more into the details. The coverage in the back was outstanding. But the glue of the defense there to shut down the run like they did, as well as be effective as a spy, which, like, Herbert is going to see Christian Ellis when he goes to the supermarket next, like hanging, poking his head around the corner, because that's how often his job was just to hang out, be like, hey, where are you? I'm right here, Christian Ellis. But anyway, just everything worked together, front to back, and that was, again, as impressive as it was surprising, frankly, because I didn't know if they would be able to piece together the run defense again, which broke and shattered as Milton Williams was leaving. And then you lose Robert Spillane. He goes, you don't have answers in the way that the Chargers didn't for their offensive line issues. When you're going, the line I used, which I will not use again after his 5 pressures, I can't bring Corey Durden and Joshua Farmer to a gunfight with Josh Allen or Justin Herbert. They just brought Corey Durden to a gunfight, and he outshot Justin Herbert with 5 pressures. So anyway, just really, really well-rounded. We are, for people new, always go down stuff that you missed on the tape. We don't normally start this heavy with the defense. The Drake Maye, the offense. Dad pod, which I've been thinking about for 5 days.
You texted me, you're like, I got a great one.
As a father of a 2-month-old, just because that occupies my headspace now as much, if not more than work. So that's why we talk about it here on the pod, as well as Let Me Have It. Something that I might have already said you don't like, and I'm still waiting to pick up on something you've said that I will
it's early, though.
Let you have it at the end. Is there anything else big picture that you take away from this defensively, identity? Like this is a landmark moment whenever we get time to sit back and think about the season, in that Justin Herbert still doesn't have a playoff win. Drake Maye's got a playoff win. Okay, Mike Vrabel's got a playoff win. Like a lot of guys became made guys last night, and especially those at the top.
No, the one thing that I kept coming back to today when I was watching the tape, and again, we can talk about all the issues that the Chargers have up front, but it goes back to what Spillane told us during the week. They want to, and I forget the exact quote, but they want to run it down your throat. And we're going to be like the big bad MFers that aren't going to let them do that. And that's what they were last night. They knew that's how Harbaugh and by proxy, that's how Greg Roman's going to call a game. We're going to try to do these things to you. And they're like, you're not doing that to us. And we're going to bring this energy and get you off of it. And that's like old school football to me. Sort of, there's like, we talk about all these schemes and you have simulated pressures and all that's real. I'm not making fun of it, but sometimes there's just that, here's the line and we're not letting you cross the line. And that team last night, maybe for the first time that I felt this way all season long, not that they haven't had moments of it or even periods of time, quarters. I thought they were that line was here and they didn't let them cross that line. The entire game, they didn't let them cross that line.
I completely agree. And I can tell you the line that Robert Spillane said on Wednesday because it was at the heart of the column that I wrote that day, trying to figure out again, okay, what's your take? At the Herbert Maye stuff is like whatever, big moment, yada, yada. Where I landed was if the Patriots are right about who they are, effort and finish, swarming, toughness, everything we expected Mike Vrabel to bring with him in his suitcase when he was hired as the head coach. By the way, a year ago today, happy anniversary to Mike. They win this game because all of that stuff, the toughness, the physicality, fundamentally sound, is what the Chargers believe themselves to be, and honestly have lived up to it most of the 2 years that Jim Harbaugh's been there. That's a Jim Harbaugh team. They did that. They are who they said they were, to steal from Denny Green. And it's more than even I knew as someone who was in the locker room several days of the week, talking to guys, asking questions, just because I don't think we could have known this until last night, meaning that like you find out who you are under pressure. This was, of course, by far the most pressure Drake Maye had been under, their defense had been under, their coaching staff had been under, and it looks easy, 16-3 at the end. But mind you, this was 9-3 going into the fourth quarter with an offense that really wasn't moving the ball, was hurting itself a whole lot. You get one bad play, one bad punt return even, that could be a 10-9 game real quick, and it wasn't. So they absolutely are everything they want to talk about themselves to be, except for, as Stephon Diggs said, oh, nobody likes us except for us. I'm sorry. The Patriots have never had a higher Q rating across the league now that Belichick is gone and Brady, and they're not winning a ton. Everyone loves Mike Vrabel and Drake Maye. And I love to see the type of football you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, that's the old guy in me. Like, that's just grew up watching it that way, and the game has evolved, and in many ways it's evolved for the better. But that part of it, and that there's the mental toughness aspect to the physical toughness thing. Like, like it's gonna be a long game. I'll be lining up against that guy, and he's trying to kick my teeth in, and I'm not gonna let him. And especially from that defensive front and the way those guys played. You mentioned Durden. I'm glad you brought him up early-ish in this program, because talk about, like, I mean, he deserves to have a home here going forward. I don't know if that's what's going to happen. He's even talked about, I'd like to stay here, but like, he's been such an invaluable member of that group, and, help them survive the loss of Milton and deal with some of the ups and downs that Christian Barmore's had. And like, he's been pretty much consistent week in and week out. You're getting good stuff out of him every week. And last night was another example of that.
And you know what it reminds me of is, we watched the Celtics in the finals last year, and you have obviously watched them for a long time, and they made the playoffs in 2008. There's always like game 3 or 4 in a basketball series where your sixth man or your third guy on the bench comes in and drops 20 or gets a double-double. And you're like, that pushed us over tonight because our number one guy, or Tatum or Jaylen Brown, whoever it was, didn't have it tonight. And that's what picked us up. That's what this game was, is your guys like Corey Durden down the bench, and you're having all of these impact plays. Elijah Ponder had a big hit, are picking up the offense the way that Harold Landry said to you and I, like on that turnover on downs. Like, first of all, it's not just they got a turnover on downs at the 2-yard line. It's the worst red zone defense in the league that I've said time and again, more or less rolls out a red carpet. Just got to stop in general. Didn't let your opponent in for a touchdown was huge. And so, again, I think it's more sustainable or replicable than I did before the game. But if it's not, you already got that one win that you'll need en route to the Super Bowl if you get there. It's the one where the supporting cast picks everyone else up who's at the front and all your main characters, because Drake Maye didn't have a great game, had a good enough game. But that's what this was. All right. Oh, that quote, by the way, I told you I could tell you.
Yeah.
From Spillane. We want to be the biggest, baddest team. They want to be the biggest, baddest team. Perfect. And I think everyone knows who was right about that. Okay. Drake Maye. He was not good until about 30 seconds left in the first half.
Yeah.
He gets a 37-yard scramble against 2-man, meaning 2 deep safeties, man coverage underneath. And that, to me, was the turning point for him, which you could say, well, obviously, it's a 37-yard scramble. That's great. It led to a field goal. That field goal was a game-winning field goal. I get it. What that play did to me was also spook the Chargers out of man coverage, which to that point had given up 1 completion and collected 2 sacks when they were playing man. And so They saw a little bit of it in the second half, and there were adjustments that Josh McDaniels made. Obviously, we're going to get into. But to me, it was just like, hey, you want to turn your back on me, and you're compressing the pocket, and you did a good job of that at the start in the first 2 drives. That's not going to work for 60 minutes. And there I go, straight up the middle into field goal range, and you're just going to have to eat it. Because then he settled down. He was like 11 of 14 for 173 and a touchdown in the second half.
I would agree, and I would say, again, if we were having this conversation in LA, might have been the only time where I would have been like, Jesse Minter, what are you doing? Like, just eliminate the big play here. If they kick a field goal from 55 yards, so be it. But like, you're just trying to prevent them from getting that thing to happen. And they end up getting a field goal anyway, but put them in position. I would have had eyes on them. I think that was pretty logical at that moment. But in general, that play, to me, that play was almost like all right, I'm in the playoffs now. Like, I'm over this thing and the nerves, and maybe they're showing me some things I didn't like, and I'm a little jittery in the pocket. And like, that was the play where it's like, no, I'm still Drake Maye, MVP or MVP runner-up, whatever the case may be. Like, that to me was the moment where it was just like, all right, I'm back to being me. And I thought it wasn't perfect in the second half. He missed Hooper on the corner route, put the ball on the ground again in the second half, but like, significantly better than what we saw in the first half.
So the play before, they had actually run 2-man as well, meaning the Chargers. And seeing that live was like, oh, I can't tell you another instance. So I'm sure it's happened a couple of times. The Patriots have even seen 2-man this season. And it's for that reason. Like, you need someone with eyes on Drake Maye. And if you do that, then you're dropping 8, which the Chargers did actually the drive before. And it worked inside the red zone because, look, you want to play man coverage against Patriots, it works, but you need to contain Maye, and that's what they did because they had tight spaces. Actually, 2 drives before. That was the end of their third possession. But the point stands that I think there was something about, on that first play preceding the scramble, it's an incompletion to Diggs over the middle and a crosser that was inaccurate. And then they do it again. And I wonder if there's just a little voice in the back of his head being like, are you serious? Like, oh, sure. Yeah. Thank you. Because those safeties drop in a way that's just like, nah, we're good. And then once he gets a head full of steam, goes around the corner, and I'm glad he kept running, by the way. He gets a little bit of blocking help, but like, you needed every yard there. And that's an instance, playoffs, near halftime, tie game. You take a hit if you need to. That really extended it. Then it's just a couple of throwaways because it's hard to thread the ball in from the 17 when they know you're throwing for the end zone. But it was just such a big play because, again, let's go back to the previous drives. Like, when I say man coverage was a problem, Diggs had a drop against man. There was, DeMario Douglas had a drop against man. There was a bad throw to Stevenson. This wasn't all like Josh McDaniels can't scheme up man-to-man plays. But here's what happened on the first drive. So you had a 6-yard run. You had a quick curl route to Stephon Diggs, basic snag concept. Draw run works well. Then you get down to 3rd and 6, and this is one cross, meaning you got man-to-man across the board, one deep safety, and then another safety lurking kind of intermediate looking for crossing routes, and specifically Stephon Diggs, who was in the slot. So what happens? He runs a crossing route. The safety jumps it. The guy on Diggs in man-to-man drops off, and that's the cross part of just kind of switching assignments. Drake Maye looks at that and takes a sack. So that's the end of the first drive. Second drive is the interception, tip ball, whatever it happens. Fast forward to the third drive. They get all the way down into the red zone. And again, he takes a sack on 1st and 10. Granted, this was play action, but it's a man blitz. So then it's 2nd and 18. You get that go ball or a hole shot to Efton Chisholm against inverted cover 2. Okay, great. You're in the red zone. But in there, scramble, handoff for 4 yards, and then it's 3rd and 4, and that's the play I already referenced, was the drop 8, man coverage, had to throw it away because you had eyes on Maye. And that's the stuff where it's just like, and then the 4th drive ends actually again with another snap of man coverage, 3rd and 5. It's incompletion to Stevenson in the flat. Good play call because they got traffic for Stevenson to say, again, we expect man, that's the tell. But that's the stuff where just the separation isn't there. So you needed something else. And what you got was the best possible solution, which was Drake Maye running around.
Yeah, the explosive play from his legs. And, I think we talked about this over the course of the year about, I don't want to say take the leash off him, but as the games become more important, you can lean into this a little bit more. We've seen Mahomes do it in their runs where, hey, it's playoffs now, or this is a big game against the Bills for home field or whatever. Like, I'm going to take off. If I can get 5 yards here, 10 yards, I'm doing that thing. And this was a game in which multiple times, and I think we've seen this in recent weeks now, where the moment he senses that the seas have opened up for him, the Charles River has parted, whatever it is, like he's going. It's like no hesitation. Like, whereas before you could hear that voice in the back of his head from Vrabel or McDaniels or both, like, stay. This was no. They turn. Go, man. Go. You're one of the best athletes out here. Go do something with it.
Can you imagine what would be at the bottom of the Charles if you actually parted that? Just disgusting.
Yes, disgusting. And I think we'd probably find a few secrets of local history that we didn't know.
I will tell you, this is going back now, was it summer 2020, 5.5 years ago? I lived in Fenway at the time, and I like to fish. So May, June rolls around. What else are you doing? Walking around, doing something outside. And so I went fishing in like the little lagoons that are by Sturo Drive. If you ever drive by there, and they're little insulated kind of pond areas. There's one area where some of the biggest freshwater fish I've ever seen, like, are moving their tail around. And then I go, what is that? And it's not catfish. I always forget. It's kind of like a crappie. There's someone in the comments who's going to drop something. Carp. I think it's a carp. Yeah. Who eat like corn. Absolutely massive. Yeah. Anyway, they're there if you're into carp. I am not. Just your little fishing update.
I thought you were telling us you said someone was floating in the little lagoon.
I mean, I my first thought was there's no way that's a fish. Just the way the movement that you got there. So anyway, they're there as well as some other stuff. So you get to the second half with Drake, and I mentioned 11 of 14, 173 touchdown. Pretty good.
Yep.
This wasn't as simple though as Drake just kind of turning it on, because the pass protection got much better. I had them at about a 38% pressure rate in the first half. And this is getting into, obviously, the offense, which I'm not there yet. But it's just to say that, like, to contextualize the second half, this wasn't like Drake Maye put on the cape, came out the booth. He played better, but he got better support. And that went for coaching as well as the offensive line. We've not talked about the fumbles. So before we get to the offensive line and coaching, is there anything else besides the fumbles? Because that's the biggest piece of his game that we haven't talked about. And it's the first thing that Mike Vrabel said in his post-game press conference.
Yeah, nope. I think we're on track here.
Got to hold on to the ball. Mm-hmm. And the last one doesn't hurt you because you're up by 13 or whatever it was. The strip sack at the 18-yard line can't happen. That was, by the way, another snap of man coverage, a snap where Will Campbell gave up pressure. But the pocket's closing, man. Like, this isn't a risk if I try to throw the ball in there and it's a pick. This is a risk if you even cock your arm, because you could lose it, and he did. Better to learn your lessons now. Wild card round, maybe this is a good thing, but he just cannot do that moving forward if they're going to lose games.
You know what it reminded me of?
What?
Week 3, Pittsburgh, Nate Herbig. Tell me I'm wrong. I'm not. You can't tell me I'm wrong. The people wanted this, by the way. They were asking for this on Blue Sky, so I gave the people what they want. But it's rightful. It was fair. He reverted in a couple moments during this game to the Drake Maye of last season, or the Drake Maye of weeks 1 and 3 against Vegas and Pittsburgh, where he's done such truly, I think he's done a remarkable job of being so much more cognizant of it, realizing it, and yet still being able to make plays when plays need to be made. But in those moments, it was like, dude, just turtle in that moment, man. Just go down, take the 4-yard sack. I know you don't like taking these 4 or 5 yard sacks. You want to win. Just take the sack. You're still in field goal range. You're still in position. The only thing you can't do there is lose the football. And even you mentioned, so they're up 13 when he has the second fumble. Vrabel made a point of that too. Like, we're cutting guys. The ball's got to come out quick. That both tackles, Campbell and Morgan, go to cut their guys. I think Campbell got his guy on the ground. Morgan didn't get Owe on the ground. But then he froze kind of. And like, I'm sitting back in the pocket, and then I'm like, that guy Owe, who's terrorized you all game, is an enormous human being with really long arms. He's coming. And he just was like, I don't know, he froze or something. Froze probably not the right word, but he was trying to do something more than he should have been there.
Yeah, that'll happen. I am curious though, how much of the lessons he learns from Sunday, which could also just be one of those games that happens, right? Like everything that he's done at 23 years old, forget being in the MVP conversation, but just the consistency of the decision making. And like you look at his all around game and you're like, yeah, the sack avoidance is not great. Okay, everything else is insane. So it's not you give him a pass, but you look and go, he got his first playoff win, and you know that was mostly a credit to his defense, which isn't a bad thing. Tom Brady's first playoff win, Snow Bowl, was a game where they also only scored one offensive touchdown. But it gets remembered for the comeback, and this will be Drake Maye's long run and then big long completions. The last thing I'll say about Maye is this: completions to 9 different receivers. Love that, because I mentioned one of those snaps in man coverage, not a true double team, but you only get good or smart or both defenses left. And those good and or smart or good smart defenses are going to double Stephon Diggs on third downs or give him extra attention. You need to go somewhere else. And it's great that Kayshon Boutte played, caught all 4 of his targets. Hunter Henry, big catches only. And then the 4th down to Kyle Williams. Really like that with the trust. It was a good route by him, but it just keeps defenses honest. Like, okay, you want to double Diggs? It's a smart thing. I can still go elsewhere. And he did.
Yeah, I think this was an instance where I found myself pining a little bit for Mac Hollins, which I guess is still a possibility.
Do you often find yourself pining for Mac Hollins?
Yeah, it's his whole shirtless thing he does. No.
Lonely late at night.
Jesus. See, there was that line we were talking about where you just can't cross that line. You just kind of
I mean, look, you said shirtless, and then
I know I did. Well, I led you there. Yeah, but you took it. You get the flag.
The flag is delay a game. I should have been quicker on it. So now I'm not in trouble. You beat me to it.
Because I think you're seeing, Chisholm's was out there, whatever. Kyle, and it was nice that he threw them the ball and they had big moments in the game each, but they're consistently not getting the targets. And even though I wouldn't, Hollins wins against man because he's just bigger than the other guy. He's more physical, and we've seen what he's been able to do at the top of the route, some of those digs and things of that nature. So I feel like they missed that size target who runs a little bit better than your tight ends do. But I would agree with you that his approach has been the same, right? He doesn't get tunnel vision too often.
Okay, so the Patriots cracked the Chargers, legitimately elite defense, especially second half of the season.
Yep.
With a couple of adjustments and some big-time made plays in the second half, which we'll get to in a minute. First, I need to remind the folks that Friday, when I stopped just like this to do an ad read, that's what this is, an ad read. I'm not going to lie. We're not going to pretend like this is stuff that, isn't what it is. I told you more than Justin Herbert rushing yards. I think it was about 29 and a half. Justin Herbert finished with 57. So if there was a doubling option and that was a little lower, you still would have been right. Drake Maye was another one, 66 yards, and they gave a free square away to Caleb Williams. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, PrizePicks is the best,
what are you doing?
Simplest, easiest way to win money while you watch sports. And this is how simple it is. You pick whatever players you want when you go to prizepicks.com or the PrizePicks app. They come with numbers. They come with stats. And then if you look at that number and that stat, like we just talked about, Justin Herbert, rush yards in his next game, or Drake Maye passing yards, or Drake Maye touchdowns, or whatever it might be, the Celtics, the Bruins are all on there. You go more than or you go less than. And if you pick at least 2 players from 2 different teams, you can go up to 6 if you want, but just anywhere 2 to 6. More than, less than, whatever stat you want. Sometimes you can even change the number. That's a PrizePicks lineup. You file it, and in past years, this might even still be true, you can win up to 1,000 times your money. This is players. This is stats. You make the picks. This is why it's PrizePicks. And here's a new feature that is personally my favorite. Let's say you make a 3-player lineup. If the first 2 hit, you're correct on more than rushing yards for Herbert and Maye, and you don't want to stick around to find out what CJ Stroud's going to do right now on Monday Night Football, cool. Cash out. Early payouts are now available at PrizePicks, but you have to sign up today. Download the PrizePicks app. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups. $50 in lineups. After you play your first $5 lineup, that's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups. After you play your first $5 lineup, PrizePicks, it's good to be right. I'll tell you, it's good to be right. It's a very weird sense of satisfaction sitting in the press box, locked into the game. Here are my notes. Just charting everything offensively, typing stuff up. You got your notebooks that are chatting with one another. How are you doing, notebook? What do you think of this game? Oh, I think it's pretty good. Because for whatever reason, you said once earlier in the show, your notebooks talk to each other. when I notice that my prize picks that I try to do my absolute darndest on during the week, because people take them every week, feels pretty good to be right. When that, like Justin Herbert goes on, like, oh, he's running around. Feels pretty good. I'd like to help the people that take the time to listen. So we'll have more later this week, by the way.
I had more Hunter Henry, 3.5 receptions. As you said, 3. They're all big ones, but yeah.
See, this is why the folks listen to the Pats Interference podcast. Though if you got time, the All 32 is pretty good too.
They love the All 32.
They've got a better guest list over there, mostly because they're not anchored by their Mondays. But, what'd you have? Burt Breer on recently? And you got...
Okay, that's fine. You want to find somebody else for Monday? You let me know.
This is dangerous. You want to go to bed, and I just gave you the perfect excuse to take off. Okay, second half. This is as much about Maye, who had an unbelievable 28-yard touchdown to Hunter Henry, moving to his left, layered over a defender. It might have even been Derwin James.
It was.
Who I wouldn't have been surprised. Just took off like he had a jetpack to go get that ball because that's how good he is. Instead, it goes over him, Hunter Henry's hands. It's a corner route after they had this clear out. There were so many of these, as you often see against zone heavy teams, calling for love of the game routes, which I know you played receiver. But to explain to folks, like your job is just to run straight down the field.
Yep.
90% of the time you're not getting the football. Your job is just to take the deepest defender, get him out of the way. They did this a lot, and especially in the second half. And the clearest example was on that corner route to Hunter Henry, who ran, it feels like, 70 corner routes in the second half. But it worked. What else worked about the second half?
Andrew, we talked about all week. You wrote about it. I wrote about it. 6 offensive linemen, Thayer Mumford, like giving them a bit of an identity. Like they're finding some ways to get the job done, because their tight ends aren't awesome blockers, but Mumford has given them a different thing, and they've been able to throw out of that. The entire first half, I'm like, what are we doing? Where's my guy Thayer? What's happening? Second half, better late than never, Josh. Came to it, and big plays in the pass game with Thayer Mumford on the football field. You love Thayer.
Can I tell you, like, the weird satisfaction I got from being right about Justin Herbert running around like a madman, and really a sad madman?
Yes.
I felt the opposite pang of like, oh my God, what have I done? Not in the way that I once jinxed the Patriots into 70 GD injuries. And
that was your fault. Yes.
But the big story you just referenced, where I'm like diving deep into all the numbers and talking to Thayer Mumford and talking to a bunch of people about their jumbo package and how it is literally revived. Lazarus out of the tomb with shoulder pads and bad intentions. Their run game the last 4 weeks has been unbelievable because of this package. It's been resurrected. Mm-hmm. They didn't run a single snap of jumbo at halftime. I'm going, boy, I'm an a-hole. Because
I felt the same way. I'm like, this made so much sense. And the way they talked about it too, you're just like, oh no, they feel this. They understand this is part of who they are going forward.
Here's the thing though. There's a difference between explaining behavior and excusing it. And in this case, you can incorrectly predict something, but still be right. Because a-holes are right all the time. It's just a sad fact of life. And in this case, I was one of said a-holes. Because in the second half, as you said, Josh goes back to the Thayer Mumford well. And I really like the Thayer Mumford well. It's cozy. Water's clean. It's always available. You're pulling up something good. What they pulled up was 3 successful plays and 4 tries. You had the 28-yard touchdown pass to Hunter Henry, their only snap of 13 personnel all night. You had the 42-yarder to Kayshon Boutte down the sideline. You had a 6-yard run and then a 4-yard completion to Kayshon Boutte. So good things happen when Thayer Mumford's on the field. I'm not giving him credit, by the way, for touchdowns and mid catches that he didn't make, but he's on the field, and this is important. I will, however, give credit to their 22 personnel package, which is what they played for half of their actual snaps. Forget the kneel downs, don't care, don't matter.
Yep.
In the second half. And Evan Lazar beat me to this comp, but it's a good one. It reminded me of the second half. And you can yell at me for this because I yelled at you for a Super Bowl comparison once upon a time. Maybe not the greatest game ever played, but their last Super Bowl against the Rams, where Josh just cannot crack the Wade Phillips defense that is matching their personnel based on the running back, regardless of whatever's around him. If it's Sony Michel, we're going heavy. If it's Rex Burkhead, we're going light. And so they go, F it. Here goes 22. We haven't done this before. We're doing Haas and some other stuff. You get the ground completion, blah, blah, blah. They win. Haas made an appearance twice. by Juke. Secondly, you had a 10-yard completion right away out of 22 personnel to Rhamondre Stevenson. Simple swing curl concept. It's an easy throw. He slips a tackle. Rhamondre, 10 yards, first down. 2 plays later, 17-yard completion to Hunter Henry in a corner route where they're big in their personnel, but they're spreading it out. And this is a simple flat 7 combination, meaning, because I'm not going to leave anyone hanging and actually sound like an a-hole who just dresses up the verbiage to sound smart. Flat 7 means just a receiver goes into the flat, and behind him, you have another receiver running a corner route. So you're trying to squeeze the guy who's on the sideline who can't cover you both. And they hit Hunter Henry behind that. Fast forward, another 17-yard completion. This is out of 11 personnel. But the point is, they go on this drive that would have ended in a field goal or a touchdown. We're not for a strip sack. And then their next drive ends in a field goal. And the drive after that ends in a touchdown. And I'm sorry, but going back to the heavy personnel, which worked right away, by the way, 6-yard run, 5-yard run, 6-yard run, was there the whole freaking time. Because I talked about it all freaking episode with Cody Alexander last week, and that the Chargers don't want to play base defense. You know this. And when you got them in base defense, good things happened.
I was with you. I was feeling the pain because I'm
not as bad as I sound. I'm having another sip, but no. Just so the people know.
It was just like it had become such a clear piece of who they'd been over the final, 3 weeks of the regular season, and for them to just not even call it once, not here. Number 74 reporting is eligible. I'm like, what are we doing? Do I have to go downstairs and talk to some people and make this happen? And again, you're right. Like on the touchdown pass, which is hilarious to me, he lines up as the tight end. Mumford does on the right side, offset from the line of scrimmage. He has no one to block. It wasn't quite the Trevion Henderson in the flat against the Saints when he's blocking. Remember, it was like a Madden glitch.
Yeah.
Yes. But it was something similar in that, like, okay, I'm out here, but does anybody want to cut? Okay, no, fine.
He looked like the bouncer that gets switched in when you were trying to sneak into a bar or club back in the day, and you get closer, and then this new big giant human being steps in front of the door, and you go, we're not. We're gonna go somewhere. We shouldn't do this. This is a bad idea. But we're not talking our way around this. Just no one wanted anything to do with him. I have to think that was the pure fear. That
the Thayer Mumford Jr. fear factor is real, and it is spectacular.
Can I try out a terrible nickname on you?
Oh, good. We're here for it.
No one's watching. It's fine. Thayer the Slayer. We can do better. There's Munford and runs is something I had in the column
Mumford
earlier because they're running the ball.
Got you. Whatever happened to them, by the way?
They're still around.
I mean, I'm sure they're still around, but like they had a little moment where it was like, ooh, they might be the next thing. And then they didn't become the thing. That might be Munford and runs. That might be the same thing next year. But for now, maybe it's the feel-good hit of January of 2026.
I miss it. Anyway, so they part of this is you also just stop having basic mistakes. I mean, Demario Douglas had a drop. That doesn't explain why they didn't convert against man coverage here. Like, this isn't all personnel scheme play calling. Like, you just have to block dudes. And there was an instance where he had back-to-back plays with the sack. It's not because you went to 22 personnel 2 plays later that it was magically fixed, because it wasn't the case. It was on 3rd and 12 after the second sack. Hunter Henry, on one of those clear routes that we're talking about, love of the game routes, sits down for a deep curl and gets 19 yards. Like, it's a balance here of the stuff that you and I are talking about and just the straight up, can you just do your job and play football? But I do think there was something missing. And by the way, Jack Westover, 8-yard catch for a guy, the fullback, who we've been critical of, tells our guy Doug Kyde after the game, man, they were just waiting to use me for the right time. Like, had me in the holster. Like, he is among the most exceptionally normal
he really is.
Professional football players I've ever come across. I like Jack a lot. So anyway, they get to 16 points. That's enough. Beautiful throw at the end. It's a corner route. We're again with the clear out, and it's just really well done. I hope they play a little bit more heavy moving forward, because I think this is closer to their identity than they played to yesterday. I know this is matchup dependent, yada, yada. But it works, man. If you control the line of scrimmage, you control the clock, you control the game. So that's, I'm going to check my notes, but I think that's all I have in the offense. And we can kind of circle back in the defense and get to everything else.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and this is sort of peeking ahead as you await the winner of Steelers-Texans, but both of those teams are very capable, very, very capable of getting after the passer. You saw Pittsburgh do it to you in week 3. We've seen what Houston's capable of. You saw Houston last year, obviously against a different line, but for the better part of the year, they were playing like the 2000 Baltimore Ravens defense, and then have fallen off a little bit here in recent weeks. But those teams will get after you. And to me, one of the best ways to defend that is go heavy. And whether you're throwing out of heavier personnel and you have Thayer in there as an extra body to help block that defensive line for either team, or whether you're just saying, you know what, Danielle Hunter, we're going to run at you. And we're going to see how you hold up. And we'll see how much juice you have in pass rush in the fourth quarter if it's a one-score game, because we've been leaning on you a little extra heavy over the course of the game.
I'm glad I checked my notes because we have a lot of smaller stuff to cover before we move to defense, which I do want to hit, but quickly. Number 1, Rhamondre Stevenson.
Yes.
2 big catches, 4 broken tackles. The catches were on these. I mean, he had 3 receptions total, but 2 big ones. Delayed releases, which really start with good protection against the blitz, which you saw first backed up and he gets 48 yards in the stadium. I kid you not. I think I tweeted it, was shaking as he's running down the middle. Just, you talk about the Charles River parts, no one around him. That worked because it's not that they had bited the blitz, but he leaks out late and is open. That also happened on, it might have been a 17-yarder later, but those delayed releases were their way of countering pressure without having him stay in and blitz pickup. Really nicely done. Speaking of blitz pickup, Trayvon Henderson on that touchdown to Hunter Henry, which I had noticed before people tweeted me, but you don't get credit when they beat you to it. I had to put him down for a hurry allowed. Didn't love it, but his dude got there. Before his dude got there, flying through the air, Trayvon Henderson came in with a big cut block that, frankly, if I'm the coaching staff, you're happy with, because that's progress and something you needed to make that happen, and Drake threw the touchdown. Anything more on those 2?
I was going to say I would bet that they would prefer him to meet power with power in that moment, but you're right. Like, when you consider his struggles in that aspect of it, making good contact with the guy, he did slow him up enough that Drake was able to do what he did and throw the. I was going to say about Rhamondre, his intelligence as a back is not something we talk about a ton. We've talked about his blitz pickup, but in those moments where he himself is sorting through the protection,
yes,
and making this decision when to leak out or when to stay, and in those moments, that all happens in like 1.25 seconds. But it's just that little. It made such a difference, and I found him quite amusing as I asked him, "Hey, take me through the 48-yarder." It looked like Drake had checked, and he's like, "Yeah, he saw the blitz was coming." Did this thing, and then I was like, "Did you think you were going to take it to the house?" He's like, hell no. He's like, that's for Trevion. That's what Trevion does, not me. Which I thought was funny moment.
Hell no. Like, it's like strong, but it's casual.
Yeah. I mean, I cackled. I was like that, yes. Because I knew, like, when he busted in the open, I'm like, wrong guy to have in the middle of no. Not that he's not slow. He's not. I think he's actually quicker than he's been, as he lost some of that weight, as he talked about coming into the season. But yeah, doesn't have the same jet power that Trevion does.
This is super deep cut, but something I want to file away for next week. The check that Drake made on that play was the same signal that he gave in the second half, and they ended up running the same concepts, where on one side you had slant flat, which I think, given the explanation we just did for flat 7, should be obvious to everyone. And the other side is stick, which is kind of a short spacing route. Someone runs on the inside, a quick little stop. The other guy to his right, closer to the sideline, runs a quick out. And like, I know ahead of my profile of John Stryker, their VP, Vrabel's right-hand guy, yada, yada, that he would listen to the TV copy at halftime to pick up audibles. Not gestures that everyone in the stadium can see, but audibles that you only hear at home. Or if you're in the booth, re-listening to the TV copy to relate to the defense. Hey, by the way, when they say Canada. This is the check.
Yep.
I have no doubt they're going to change it during the week, but I was a little surprised to see it in half. It didn't burn them. It's just something that, those are basic concepts. You see them once, it's easy to remember because it's day one stuff. So anyway, Will Campbell is the last one that we haven't really talked about. And Jared Wilson wasn't good either, but I think people are more interested to hear about Campbell because he was just more at the center of some bad things that had happened than Wilson, more obvious things than Wilson was.
Yeah, I mean, so in the NFL Notebook I did this week, I talked to a bunch of different coaches around the league and some personnel people, but one of the coaches said to me, he's like, these are the kind of guys that are going to give him problems. And people don't want to hear it, but they're longer guys and they can get their hands into you before you can get your hands into them, in particular when you're not as long a levered guy as some normal left tackles are. So I think there were moments where he gave up his chest plate. Like he didn't give it up. They got to him first. And then you just control the player. And even on a couple of occasions where his guy didn't get around him, he ends up getting backed all the way into Drake. And, essentially that's a hurry. That's a pressure there. So
it's the first play.
Yeah. And he's
or first pass.
And look, I just said this, talking about Houston and Pittsburgh. Herbert gave him fits in that game against Pittsburgh. Highsmith, who's a better all-around player and maybe even a better pass rusher than Herbert is. It's close, whatever. He didn't play in that game. He's, as of right now, he's healthy, so you would expect to see him if they have Pittsburgh. And then, of course, we know Anderson and Hunter are freaking aliens, with ridiculous arm length and incredible motors. So he's gonna have his hands full. He's gonna absolutely have his hands full. And I like his resilience. Again, we saw different points in the second half, like clean some stuff up, but 5 or 6 of those plays, when you only throw 29 passes, it's a fairly large percentage.
I had him down for 4 pressures, 2 hurries, quarterback hit, and a sack. I had Jared Wilson down for 3. That was the lowest. I tally them up and then I see what everyone else has because I don't want to be influenced by how everyone else is seeing the tape. Next Gen Stats had 5. I think PFF had 6. I categorize some of these as under the team, meaning you're beat by scheme or other things that happen, which is not a clear individual loss. Not going to put it on an individual. The sack, though, was bad for Jared Wilson. Good news is the other 3 guys, were pretty clean, aside from one interior stunt that got through because just everyone failed from Michael Munter to Garrett Bradbury. It was also a good defensive play. So it's just something to watch. I mean, we all knew this was going to be the case coming into the season. They exceed expectations. And then you go into the playoffs and you're like, well, of course, defenses are going to look at those rookie offensive linemen and go after them. And when they perform like rookie offensive linemen from time to time, that's what you get. But look, some of the stuff that Will Campbell was getting as I was on Twitter today was just too much because when there's a cut block and he cuts on a quick get it out concept, if he gets his cut block, he's done his job.
Yep.
May holds on to the ball. That's not on him. Let's talk about defense. So we covered about the blitz rate. 45.5% is where I landed. On those blitzes, here's the bigger piece. They allowed a 40% success rate, 3.1 yards per play allowed. This was, again, what they thought they had to do. 4-man simulated pressures, 5, 6, 7, all over the top. This was a game plan that had Herbert running or dizzy or both. Corey Durden, 5 pressures. I know a lot of these are fattened up last drive, fourth quarter. Caleb Chase I had for 3, Milton Williams for 3, Marcus Jones for 2, Christian Ellis 2, Christian Barmore 2, Robert Spillane 2, Anthony Jennings sack, quarterback hit for Carlton Davis, who has been on these corner blitzes twice against Josh Allen, and he gets there and just can't get the quarterback down with the ball in his hands. And I'm like, Carlton, come on. Elijah Ponder, and then 1 for team, which was just kind of a collective pocket closing. The boring stuff, again, sets the table for all of this. Tackling, shutting down the run game, where I kept screwing up the running back's last name. Help me here.
Kamani Vidal.
Okay. I was going to say Vidal. The one time I get it right, I just leak confidence. He had 31 yards, 10 of which came at running at Caleb Chase on, which you just go, okay, this is going to happen. Teams do that, and he's going to get a big free agent contract, but it's not because of his run defense. Patriots allowed 2.5 yards per carry on handoffs. Their offensive line was bad. that sets the table for everything else. The tackling, I think, is sustainable moving forward. The run defense, I feel pretty confident in now that you've got everyone there. The pressure stuff, though, I think is going to have to be more situational wins because they're not going to win at a rate or blitz at a rate, I don't think anyway, that we saw against the Chargers. That, I think, is going to stay with Sunday night. And when you look ahead, I'm curious about how much of this they can keep up.
What I liked about sort of revisiting our conversation at the beginning, but one of the things I really liked about it was the level of communication and the timing of what they were doing. Like, how many times did you see a guy and there's a conversation to be had about this, and I don't know where I heard this from. Maybe someone tweeted it.
Uh-oh.
But no, it was the head bob from the center on silent count, and then it was like a beat, and then the ball was snapped, and they never changed it up. So not quite Brian Stork in Denver in the AFC Championship game when the Patriots had Vollmer playing left tackle. That's the DeMarcus Ware. I remember Brady got hit 20-something times, and they still almost won the game. That missed 2-point conversion pass. But there may have been something to that in terms of.
Wait, what did Brian Stork do? Because I've never heard that story. What was
Stork was giving away the snap count. If you go back and watch that game, it's remarkable to go back and watch it. Like because you're during the course of the game, you're like, it's Denver, it's loud.
Yeah.
You've got guys out of position. Cannon's playing full time, and I don't know that he was good enough to be. And then Vollmer's on the other side because Solder's out and Stork's in the middle, and it was just a cluster. And Brady's getting killed all game. But you're watching it, and you're like, well, this is an awesome defensive line.
Yeah,
I forget that big kid in the middle for them. Whatever. Wolf. What's his name?
Jared Wolf.
Yeah. He was a beast in that game. So they were just absolutely killing him. And then not that after the game, but a couple of days later, like, hey, we were given a and then you go back and watch the game and you're like, oh my God, they were like jumping the snap on every single play. It's just like, those guys are good enough that they don't need that help. Now you're giving them that help. It was still pretty remarkable that they were in that. But there was a comment made about that. I forget where I heard it, but I think there was something to the
Brian Stork saying, "Hey, I'm not the only one. hey, look at Bozeman.
It's not just me. It's Bradley.
Look at this guy who just gets slapped across the face and crumples in the fourth quarter in a clip that."
By the way, he was crying today, talking about Justin Herbert, Bradley Bozeman. He's like, we have to do better for him. He's like, he doesn't deserve this. So I thought that was kind of
right.
Cool. Yeah, he is right. But I just like the cohesion. I think there were just so many times where Woodson, Hawkins, Marcus Jones, some of these safety corner blitzes were like, they are literally hitting the line of scrimmage at full speed as the ball is being snapped. It was just beautiful stuff. And I think there is, to me, I mean, obviously if you've got the timing, that helps, but the communication and the understanding of who's going to do what, when, where, it is something that should be sustainable, next week and beyond.
So the other part about this was how they had rotated, because it looked like, line changes in hockey. The way even first drive, they're still in base defense. Like, I'm putting this down of, okay, what personnel group bringing it in? How are they handling different situations? One base is not like the other. Like, you had a wave of, here comes Leonard Taylor and Corey Durden, and there goes Milton Williams or Christian Barmore, and to bring in Jelani Tavai, and there goes Anthony Jennings. Like, there was situational stuff that wasn't just, hey, go in there and give so-and-so a rest. It's your turn to play. There was some matchup stuff with when they're in 21, this is how we're going to match with this personnel. And it's not just base. It's like this style of base in these players. And it almost felt like betting run pass, though I'm sure that wasn't it. But that's interesting to me. And I think not because like, oh, cool, they substitute. It's just a matter of like, okay, if you're really trying to maximize guys who can win one-on-one, Chase on, Milt Williams, Christian Barmore here and there, they need to be as fresh as possible. And how can you do that while saving them not just like during the game, but for the highest leverage moments, understanding you might not know when those are going to come. But they certainly did a hell of a job with that yesterday because, again, I'll repeat, 9-3 game going into the fourth quarter. Like, this was not in the bag in the way that when you watch the NFL films, update, recap of this, that it will be, oh, Patriots controlled to start to finish. I mean, they were in control, but even Vrabel, I asked after the game, was like, when did you feel like, okay, you really got your arms around this? It was like the touchdown pass, which was, I don't know, 9, 10, 11 minutes left in the game.
Yep.
There was one more thing I was going to say, or a couple things. Christian Gonzalez, by the way, concussion protocol, did not allow a catch to the Chargers, who they just had no regard for. Their receivers, they're like, yeah, they didn't play man a ton. Like it was about 30%. But they were not afraid of their receivers at all, given that blitz rate. The thing is, though, if he's out next Sunday, if don't know, we'll see. Big adjustment going against Nico Collins or DK Metcalf, no matter who wins this game tonight. That has me a little worried.
Yeah, I mean, that would be absolutely concerning because what I liked about yesterday was even in some of the zone concept, it was, match and you're more man-like. Like that's unleashing him to his fullest. I thought he was pretty zoned in the game, almost had the interception on the play he actually got concussed on. So not having one of your better players would be concerning for sure.
I forgot the second thing I was going to say, so I'll leave everyone with this. The Chargers' second longest play.
It's awesome.
Was a strip sack.
Like how crazy is that?
Vidal?
Like you would have just figured
yards.
You would have just figured you'd stumble into something. They didn't even stumble into a long completion or a busted play run or nothing. Like just absurd. But I think to your point about like not respecting their receivers at all, and we talked about this, like Keenan Allen, not only can he not run, but did he really want to be there last night? Like it felt like even on the fourth down play in the end zone, like why didn't he jump? Like
can he?
He didn't even get off the ground.
You know what though?
He kind of was like this. Oh, okay. Wow. Was that for me?
Keenan Allen's 33. Okay, I cannot make any old jokes here because he is younger than me, even if that beard, much more impressive than my beard, for the record, makes him look older. So
have you ever seen the collarbone?
No, I'm sure it's broken.
So it juts out like it looks like an alien's popping out of his shoulder.
Ugh. Thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Super easy bone to break, by the way. 7 pounds of pressure, right angle, right spot.
Did you break yours?
Feels like a little bit of a flaw in the design of the human being that you just have this bone exposed that, you drop like a good, I don't know, sack of potatoes on the right spot. It's all condensed or something that weighs, a dumbbell that's 10 pounds. It's not great.
Did you break yours?
No, not yet. Protect the collarbones.
If I punch you just right.
You can't punch right now. You have a head cold.
That's a fair point.
We didn't do our critical areas at the start, so I'm just going to run down these really quickly.
Shoot.
5 things pretty much decide every football game ever. Turnovers. Patriots actually lost this 2-1. Explosive play rate. Won this big. 10.9%. So basically 1 out of every 9 plays was explosive for the Patriots. Chargers, 5%. Success rate, 51% for the Patriots, 44% for the Chargers. That is a big gap for folks unfamiliar with success rate. Red zone efficiency, 0. Shutout, both of you. Not great. Defensive pressure rate, Patriots at 50. Humongous. Chargers at 30, which, again, declined in the second half and against this offensive line. Not great. Studs and duds, I'll be honest, I don't have a list for. So we're going to roll with yours.
And I would basically say you can pretty much say, because I do this as part of musings, and it's just a roll call of defensive players. Milton Williams, 2 quarterback sacks, a couple pressures, but also good against the run when he was in there. I put all the linebackers on there, just doing their just Marcus Jones, the tackle. He had the sack fumble of Herbert, which led to the second longest play for the Chargers off the fumble. Gonzalez pitching the shutout. Gonzalez. Drake Maye second half. Drake Maye first half is on the bad list, the down list, but he is
dud list.
He's on the dud list. Sorry. Look, it's late. I'm tired. studs, up, down. It's all the same.
Second half Giardi's on a different list than first half Giardi of the pod.
I put Wilson and Campbell as duds.
Isn't it amazing? I'm just going to pause. Again,
Yeah.
PFF, good stuff, bad. Put that aside. He gets like the highest grade of all offensive players while also getting the most pressures allowed, including a sack.
Just doesn't.
Not congruent, really, to me.
No, that doesn't make sense to me. But as we've talked about with the grading, some of the grading stuff, we're not. It doesn't jibe. Some of the other stuff does.
Borregales?
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
No, you hate come on.
Well, yes, I do, but then it wasn't like they didn't ask him to kick 50 yarders. It was 39 and 28, and like
more like a playoff thing.
Yeah.
Rookie.
Yeah, no, it's fine. If you wanted to, I could put him there.
You think Tyler Loop would give him a studs?
Oh, jeez, poor dude.
Pressure kick, young kid.
People bitching about that, like, oh, Harbaugh, they should have got more yards. It's never 44 yards in this league now is like a freaking layup. Like he didn't. There are things you can ding him for. I'm not dinging him for that.
Glad you brought that up because that reminds me of something people are asking about with Vrabel, and I wasn't there today during his press conference when he did not go for 2 to go up 14 and just kick the extra point to go 13. No defense here of that. I'm just as confused as anyone else, knowing especially because they're top of the league in game management, and they're even going slow with their substitutions. Yes. Second half to roll more clock. Just like take your time, get more guys in, more guys off. The referee has to hold up the offense if they sub. You just go, nope, let him go.
Well, I mean, and that's you want to talk about game management like Harbaugh. That's one of his things, right? Well, what are you doing? If you're going to sub, then they can sub, and we're just playing this game of
Jim Harbaugh,
yeah. So we're just playing this game of you're bleeding more clock off, which you don't have time to bleed clock off.
Say that very carefully.
I was very close. It came out. I was like, wow, that was close. And we know I've been there before. So God bless Andrew Siciliano, who literally held me up in that moment. In fact, the best part about that clip, I mean, for people who don't like me,
the people.
The best part about that clip is, is the famous bulging disc in Rob Gronkowski's back, except I didn't say disc. And what's a killer about this is that I had been saying it for weeks because it was the thing. And like, I made sure I would slow it down because if you talk fast, it might come out or people might hear it wrong. And I was like, nailed it probably like 12 times, like just drilled it. And then there we are at the combine and I mentioned it and I slowed it down, except I didn't say disc. I slowed it down and said the other word. And I corrected myself, but I was literally melting in the chair. I stuck my hand out and put it on our anchor, Andrew Siciliano's shoulder. And you should go back and just watch it for Siciliano's reaction. And then all like the facial reaction, the stone cold, like you should probably get that fixed. Just, it's a pro's pro right there.
Yeah. You're a pro's pro. Coughing up the story. We didn't have to revisit that, but that obviously made me laugh.
In the moment, it was a tough one. I was down. as Paul Perillo and Andy Hart can tell you, they had to convince me to leave my room that night to meet them for beers in downtown Indianapolis. But whatever.
By the way, not ready for the combine.
Oh God, no.
My liver, my brain,
the whole thing. It's like
gossip. Yeah.
The way things are going, it's not going to be a lot of a break.
All right. Speaking of a break, we're going to get to Dad Pod. Before we get to that, we have a new sponsor still.
Yes.
And look, this is something that arrives at an interesting time in my life because Ethos is a place where you can get life insurance through them. And as I have a newborn, I have to start to think about serious things like life insurance. And so things that I'm considering when we talk about getting ready for my daughter, where she's going to go to school and save her for college. And again, life insurance is how easy is this? How safe is it? Where can I go to get the best coverage possible? And Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy. It's 100% online. You get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam, but you just have to answer a few simple health questions, and then you're done. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. And as of March 2025, let's say you've not heard of Ethos. I think you've heard of Business Insider. which named Ethos the #1 no medical exam instant life insurance provider anywhere. Business Insider. So protect your family with life insurance from Ethos now by going to ethos.com/all32, ALL32, in as little as 10
Great
minutes.
podcast.
Quotes. Just we're so close to the end of the ad read.
Just now you've stopped yourself. Keep going. Good
if
pro.
You got a bulging disc, protect your family with life insurance from Ethos now by going to ethos.com/all32. In as little as 10 minutes, you can get your free quote. You can get up to $3 million in coverage at ethos.com/all32. This is ethos.com/all32. Ethos.com/all32. Application times and rates may vary. Dad pod. Okay.
Here we go.
And again, for people who are listening to this on Tuesday, Wednesday, we don't know who the Patriots are going to play, Texans, Steelers. I will have a full breakdown, as will Mike, on the Ethos sponsored All 32 podcast.
Bingo.
Where hopefully no one interrupts you at the end of something that is vital to the, podcast and the payment coming in. So we're still in Connecticut, my wife and I, with our baby girl, and really doing well, getting a lot of support, living with my in-laws, who have been awesome. And honestly, it's more quality family time, which, you and I have talked about. Like, playoffs is a double-edged sword in that this is what you want to cover. First time the Patriots in the playoffs for 4 years. First win in the postseason in 7 years. Great celebration, but that means more work and more time away from them. So Thursday, early morning, we drive up because our pediatrician, who is awesome. I don't know if anyone listening to this knows Sarah Rockwell, nurse practitioner, works in the Fenway area. It's like from God's lips to her ears, to her lips, to my wife's ears. That's what it is. And she's awesome. So we drive, get up at like 6, leave 6:30 for an appointment that's at 10. Because, baby's crying, you got to pull over. What happens? Baby cries, got to pull over, got to feed her, got to change her. Boom, get back on the road. Tons of traffic. We're just outside of the city. And despite being fed and changed, she starts crying again. So we're pulling out all the stops. And there's shushing. And then there's, things that she likes to listen to and this and that. And inevitably, we just have to cycle through songs that we like to listen to because we're stuck in traffic with a screaming, crying baby, and I need to pull off, except for I can't because I can't go anywhere. This is, again, Thursday, middle of a playoff week. Happy with my column the day before, not this day because of everything that's going on. So as we're waiting to get an exit and just get some fresh air and pull over again, this mix on Spotify, Noah Khan, brings up a new song I'd never heard before from an artist I'd never heard before, but I really, really like. The first set of chords here. It's acoustic guitar. It's very comforting. It's also very comforting to my daughter, who immediately goes out, screaming, crying, completely asleep. And this sounds like the insane no-sleep newborn dad brain. But I kid you not, for the next 30 minutes, as we replayed this song over and over and over again and talked like this, she was asleep. Saved the whole ride. The problem is, when we drove back then Thursday night after I'm in Foxborough and work and then come back and then we go to Connecticut, she naturally starts crying again. So we play the song. It works again. Good news. Bad news is I start to hate this song because this song sucks.
Nice.
And all due respect to Dylan Gassett and the song To Be Free, but I was completely fooled by the initial sound of the music, which is important. But as a writer, I'm sorry, the lyrics also matter a little bit to me. And when I have to listen to your song 30 times, I'm going to pick up on things that don't make a whole lot of sense. And to get this point across, I am now going to read the lyrics to Be Free so that everyone else can experience what I now have to when my baby is crying in the car. And we've found some backup options, none as good as this. Here's the first line, just the whole song. Smells like weed and gasoline. Mind you, this is, imagine someone by the campfire, right? Like just strumming acoustic guitar. Yeah, the kids are killing trees and killing time, but it's all the same to me. Skipping rocks and fallen leaves. It's the season of the bees. So first of all, the season of the bees is springtime. Falling leaves is not springtime because that's the fall, and that's why we call it fall. Moving on. Save them all, but hate them more when they sting. He's still talking about the bees. Save the bees, but you don't like them when they sting. You are going to die when I tell you what this song is supposedly about, the meaning behind these lyrics. Here's the chorus. Because it's all right till you lose your mind. Happening now. So save your time while it's cheap. When the sun is bright and the breeze is kind, you've got what it takes to be free, said the title. Another verse. Cardboard houses are up for sale. Grass is green and the flowers smell, because he says it like that. Don't you dare be quiet. Let me hear you yell. Let's build a staircase to the stars. Take a trip around Mars. We can't get there if we never start. What the hell is going on? There are bees in fall. There are houses up, but smell the flowers. Time is cheap, so save it. But if it's cheap, I'd rather spend it. And if it's expensive, it's good time. That I want to save. That I want to keep. Let's build a staircase to the stars. This is so high school. Like, after listening to the song, I have no doubt my daughter is going to date some loser high school deep writing, acoustic guitar playing around a fireplace loser that's going to drive me insane. Another chorus. Here's the last verse. Well, I still recall what you said with every inch of your breath. Can't measure breath. I'm sorry. Forget about the noise and let's run till we're dead. And we won't fall for second best till we've been to all the rest. Who knows where we will be or what will grace our silhouettes. My wife hates that line more than anything else. Or what will grace our silhouettes. I completely agree. What the hell is going on with any of this? Smells like weed and gasoline. Yeah, the kids are killing trees and killing time, but it's all the same to me. That's the end of the song. Supposedly, to be free. This is from a website. The first one I visited no more. What are the meaning behind the lyrics? Let me give this a chance. Quote, to be free beautifully captures the feeling of youth and rebellion, while also mixing in deep ponderings about life and our existence. When he sings, smells like weed and gasoline. It's as if you can almost smell it yourself. Similarly, the lyrics, save your time while it's cheap, invites you to make the most of your time while you still can. No, it does not. It makes me, with a quiet now, baby, lose my mind, as is in the song. That's the only part of the song that I identify with.
So two things here. One, you just gotta have a crying baby. You can't play the song anymore. I don't really care how, like, what that's going to do to your mental health in the moment. You know, like, you just have to, you can't play that song. I don't know what this guy's face looks like, but I'm guessing it's very punchable.
So this is a country song. I think he's got a beard, brown hair, like maybe hair's down to like his shoulders. I really like the melody. And he's got a decent enough voice, even though flowers smell. Let me hear you yell. We're going to build a staircase straight into space. And then the end of this analysis, to be free helps us feel less alone in our shared inner call for freedom and understood at the deepest level. Okay.
You know what that is? That's AI. Come on. That's an AI generated. You ever, like, you know, as we do, sometimes you got to Google stuff, and you Google, and like, there's all these things that pop up now, like different websites that used to be trusted websites that used to employ real human beings. And then you see these like headlines and you're like,
yeah,
I'll click on it every once in a while because I just want to see what rubbish they're putting together. And let me tell you, it is rubbish. So yes, that's rubbish. That's AI.
So I'm doing film today and my wife comes in, Shane's baby, and she's crying. Not over the top. I mean, it's not she's colicky, but it's not nonstop. And my wife just goes, weed and gasoline, rocking the baby back and forth. It didn't work, but now at least I'm able to laugh about something that after listening to that over and over and over and over again, I should like the song. The first 5 seconds, you're like, oh, this is nice. This is calm. This is soothing. If you like Noah Khan, this is like adjacent to that genre. Skipping rocks and falling leaves. It's the season of the bees. No, it's not. I'm going to close this out because it's just going to make me more annoyed. Anyway, that was my dad bod this week.
I have no dad stories from this week.
No dad stories? Oh, everyone left your house today.
Yes. Well, yes. Yeah, they did. And I didn't really know what was going on. So, you know,
what happened? You never filled me in.
Well, so we worked late, obviously. You got home, God only knows what time. I probably rolled in here around quarter or two.
Let me tell you, if you ever get the chance to see the sunrise as you're driving on 84 West at 5:30 in the morning,
beautiful.
Don't. It's not great. It's not worth it.
I used to see the sunrise driving into Medford for that morning show that I did briefly. The 3-month morning show I did for radio.
Oh, wow.
A little bit prettier, but not much. Sometimes you get a little bit of the Boston skyline, so you get that, but sometimes you didn't, and you're like, oh, that's a nice strip mall over there, beautiful.
Yeah.
So I'm sure I was informed of what was happening, but I did not know what was happening. So when I woke up this morning, come downstairs, no people, no dog, no cars. My car, but no cars. I'm like, what the hell is happening? But I got work, so like I'm just like, when people are going to show up. No, someone had a work thing till 6:37. Daughter went to see her friends in Newport. Didn't have any idea. She was back at like 5:30. Dog was at doggy daycare, so he didn't show up until 7:00.
Your wife didn't trust you just to hang out with the dog?
They give me a solid.
Oh,
take. So, but I didn't know. I had no clue. And then I was really busy, and I figured someone would text me and be like, "Hey, what's going on?" I don't remember what time I texted you. It wasn't that long ago. I was like, "Hey, it's kind of weird. Woke up today, nobody here." Kind of felt like a dream a little bit. Like maybe they just finally left. Maybe everybody left.
Yeah. Because you have a head cold and your family seemingly abandoned you for most of today, I have no okay, let me have it. So we can skip that unless you. What
I had nothing either. I thought
Okay.
you were. I mean, either I'm really tired and I wasn't as nitpicky as usual, or you just were awesome today.
Thank you. Here's the last thing. I did radio yesterday, filled in, and I had a question. Which, by the way, if you've got like young kids in the car, this is not going to go crazy, but this is the heads up. Hit pause. This is fair warning. Any comments on YouTube, this is on you now. I was working with George. I keep forgetting his last name. He used to work in Nesson. He fills in. Very nice guy. And I was like, you know what? This is the first time in 4 years the Patriots have played a playoff game. How many people listening to this during another NFL playoff game, choosing to listen to local radio as opposed to watching Bills-Jags, would answer in the affirmative to the question of, is playoff football better than sex? And I thought this would just be an easy, half serious segment, laugh, hang out. And we start to talk about it a little bit more. Then we start to get some calls. And you get some people, no, it's just like some guy was like anthropologically, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, listen, we don't have to take this seriously. Then a flood of calls saying yes, including one guy going, my wife tried to come on to me during Tom Brady's last game as a Patriot. And I looked at her and I turned and I said, Tom Brady. And I got up and left the room. That's a serious call that we got. We get a text then, like later in the show. Jim Louth, who was like number 2 at the Sports Hub and used to be was he a producer for Zone Beetle?
Yeah.
Okay. Very nice guy. Very glad to work with these people. He texts me and George. You guys are blaring at Patriot Place where they had set up live to do the actual pregame show. This is the pregame show. I'm going, does this mean he doesn't like it and doesn't want to tell me that we're just talking about, do you like football more than sex? Like playoff football games more than sex. And so I had thought of a improv game that I heard of years ago, which starts with sex with me is like blank because blank. And so you ask the audience for like, fill in the first blank. And you would say, playoff football. And you have to come up with a reason, a description. Sex with me is like playoff football because X, Y, and Z. Because you wish Tom Brady was there instead, or whatever. And I was like, maybe we'll play this. Getting the text from Jim Louth, I think probably stopped us from playing that game because I thought that would be better feedback. Lo and behold, just the calls that we got to the question of is playoff football better than sex was enough. My parents listened to this. My wife did for a stretch, who has not brought it up to me this entire day, probably for good reason. No idea if the in-laws heard this. I did not answer until the very end of the show and said sex in the affirmative, definitely better. Which also, look, your in-laws and your parents are listening. There's no good answer to this, and I only have myself to blame. But I will tell you, there was more debate embraced and sparked and had over this. And I texted 3 former Patriots captains Well, what do you think? One said, "Oh, that's tough." The other one going, he has a haircut like me. You two are very friendly. Conference championship or bigger? Yes, it's better than 6. And I go, what about just like watching it? Like you're going to watch tonight? He goes, oh, hell no. So we're getting a lot of yeses. He goes, tell them to have better sex. I'm like, okay, fair. The third captain, who's again not with the team anymore, wanted nothing to do with this. He goes, you know what? I'm going to pass on that one. I said, okay, that's totally fair. So that was my Saturday. I don't really want to play Sex with Me is like blank right now on the show because it's been a long show. And if people want to play at home, it's I don't know. Go to an improv, whatever. They might do it. That's enough. I didn't expect to land here, but I just thought we should finish on a fun note.
Yep.
Is this why you turned me down? Because I said, why don't you come on at 4? And we'll
No, I
did ask Doug, and we asked Chris Cotillo as well. Chris tried to talk around it. Doug said, let me stand up for a second in my house. I'm sitting next to my daughter.
Oh, yes. That's not a conversation I have around her. No. So the night before, I did a radio hit for Westwood One.
Mm-hmm.
And they had texted me, hey, can you, and they gave me a bunch of times. And I'm like, it was like 7:40, 8:40, 9:40, 10:40. I'm like, let's get it over with. Let's do 7:40. Sure. Not thinking that the Rams-Panthers game, the Rams are going to have the ball driving down the field, down a score in the game, and I have to do this radio hit. So I didn't, as you knew from having conversations with me earlier in the week, I didn't want Carolina anywhere near the playoffs, and I was bummed out. But it's a playoff game. I'm home. I'm watching the game. Turns out to be a great game. I'm into it. And then literally the phone rings, and I'm like, oh, son of a – run upstairs because cell phone doesn't work in half the house. And, yeah, I missed the end of the game.
A lot of people shedding tears for you right now.
I'm just
100%
so when you said 4 o'clock, I'm like,
yeah, no, that's fair.
Bills Jags,
yeah,
fourth quarter. No,
yeah,
I'm out.
Anyway, there was one email maybe from a higher up at the Sports Hub who got emails sent to him that was not so happy with the show, which I would say to those people, first of all, I get it. Sex is also part of life. This is for fun. We're not having serious conversations. We did not go into the details of anyone's particular sex lives, but generally thinking, you've not watched, if you're a Patriots fan, playoff football in 4 years. You've not seen a win in 7 years. We all understand what it was like being in that stadium if you're in the stands, who, by the way, if you spend at least $300 on a ticket, your answer to that question is yes, and I don't have to ask. Okay? No, I said ask.
Yes.
But we had some fun. And you know what? Maybe it was the right risk to take. And if not, they'll never have me back. So this pod has not smelled like weed and gasoline.
No.
But it's been a lot of fun. We will be back Monday. Win or lose, rain or shine, when the Patriots play the Texans or Steelers. By the time you listen to this, if you have not been live with us, which, first of all, thanks for hanging out, all 3,000 plus of you.
Thank you.
Then we will talk about that game, 3 o'clock or 6:30 on Sunday. And I think it's going to be a good one either way. Do you have a score update right now for the people who are live with us instead of watching Monday night?
It is 7-6, and CJ Stroud has fumbled 4 times.
What? Wow.
Texans are up 7-6, but according to my Twitter feed, yes, CJ has dropped like 4 snaps.
Wait, you said the score, not who has 7.
I said Texans up 7-6.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Maybe I didn't. Whatever. Texans 7, Steelers 6, 22 seconds left in the second quarter. And according to my Twitter timeline, CJ Stroud keeps dropping the football, and they're now trying to blame Jake Andrews, who is the center for the Texans, formerly of the New England Patriots. And some of my people on my timeline are like, CJ's just dropping the ball. This has nothing to do with this. CJ's peeing down his leg. So we've got that to look forward to in the second half.
Look, Mike, just save your time while it's cheap. When the sun is bright and the breeze is kind, you've got what it takes to be free. I'm going to set you free. I'm going to set myself free. This has been a lot of fun. If you're still hanging out with us, please subscribe to the YouTube channel @_Andrew Callahan, Patriots Press Pass CLNS. I'm sure you're already doing that. But look, we're gathering a little dust in the reviews on Apple and Spotify. So if you're an audio person, first of all, right here, I'm with you. But leave us a review, a comment, help us grow. We're going to do a lot of cool stuff this offseason. So please, again, subscribe at _Andrew Callahan on YouTube and leave us a rating and review on Spotify and Apple. Whatever you want, whatever you need to say. Go be free. Let's watch some football. Thank you again, my guy.
See ya.